Show me something.
Hello and welcome back to the Show Me Something podcast. I'm Jacob.
I'm Will.
And I'm Trevor.
And today I showed the boys Brian De Palma's 1983 Scarface, a crime/gangster classic that I had really, before this podcast, assumed that both these guys had seen it already, just because it's a movie that's like such ingrained in our culture, with like lines in it and like just the image of it. One of Al Pacino's greatest roles, at least in my opinion. I don't know what these guys think. But yeah, it's just a movie that a lot of people have seen already, so I was surprised. But I was really excited to be able to show it to him. Yes. Oh, and also it's written by Oliver Stone, which I didn't realize until I was looking at it just now before we started recording. But yeah, what did you guys think?
Yeah, it was cool. I also, it's like not necessarily a shame point, but it is odd that I've never seen it. It's such a cultural touchstone, both in terms of film and I think also largely in terms of hip hop. Tony Montana is referenced incredibly frequently throughout rap history. It makes a lot of, having seen it, makes a lot of lines make more sense to me. I want to give a quick shout out to the Clips song called it's called Hello New World. It's off the album Hell Hath No Fury, and it's a line that says be Sosa, not Tony, which now obviously makes a lot more sense to me. Having never seen it before. Yeah, it was cool. It's a fun movie, I guess. Fun is kind of maybe not the right word, but it's enjoyable to watch. It's a good kind of pulpy film.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I think it definitely has pros and cons. It was incredibly jarring for me to watch Al Pacino do a Cuban accent for 3 hours. But I don't think he necessarily did a bad job. I just think it was odd.
Yeah, most of the cast is not Cuban.
Yeah, which is
a lot of them are Italian, like he is.
Right, and that's just that's 80s shit. Underrepresentation in Hollywood was, rampant until way too recently. But yeah, it was cool. I see so much of other things in it. And obviously, like Cobb just mentioned, there are so many lines in this film that I've been hearing my entire life, and I feel like I know the lines, but I've never really have seen them in context, so that was cool. Yeah, it was a fun time. It's definitely too long, in my opinion, but it didn't...
It's a long one. Clock's in at like 2 hours and 50 minutes,
250, yeah. It didn't really feel like it dragged. I just think that it's trying to fit a lot in to the runtime. So your mileage may vary on how long you think it is. Despite loving movies, I'm not a huge fan of stuff going like over 2.5 hours. I even think 2.5 is usually pushing it, but
yeah, I agree.
It doesn't. Yeah,
I used to be way more open to watching long movies than I am now. Now I'm like, if that shit's over like 2 hours,
like,
I'm like,
sake.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I have the time.
I mean, that's long, and this is
sure.
This is a thing that I shouldn't really probably mention in public, but I've never seen The Godfather 2 because it's so long.
That's crazy.
And I've owned the Godfather trilogy box set since I was maybe
Trevor,
15.
Have you?
Oh no, I haven't even seen Godfather 1.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I know.
Cool. Yeah. Anyway,
it's
so
bad.
Sorry, very long review section, but it was fun. I think 7 out of 10. I don't think it's amazing. I think it's definitely an enjoyable watch. It's a pretty low stakes watch. Definitely some fun moments. I kind of dug the first half more than the second half, which we'll get into in our spoiler section. But yeah, glad to have finally seen such a cultural phenomenon of a film.
Yeah, and before you jump into your review, Trevor, I wanted to mention, just based off of what you're saying about hip-hop, Will, apparently they when they did like a re-release in the early 2000s, the studio like wanted Brian De Palma to like recut it with hip hop music that was inspired by
horrible
Scarface, and he just like refused. He's like, that's not gonna happen.
Thank God he refused. That would be so terrible.
But I just wanted to mention it because there is a lot of references like just in culture in general about this movie.
Also, sorry, Trev. The music was really great. I thought the score was really cool. There were a lot of really cool repeated musical stings that I enjoyed. Also a plus for me.
All right. So I really enjoyed the movie. It was cool. Like I obviously have heard so much about this movie over the years. Like it's just like we have been saying, it's a cultural touchstone, like it's referenced in everything all the time.
Yeah.
It's a huge deal. And I loved it whenever he finally said the line that everyone knows, say hello to my little friend. I was like, yeah, that he said the thing. He said the thing.
Yeah. You had to wait like the whole movie.
Yeah,
for real.
Which was a lot of movie. Like we said, it was a bit. I did not expect it to be as long either. I'm sitting and watching, and I'm like, wow, I feel like this should be done by now. And then I go and scroll over. I'm like, oh, there's a lot left.
You're like, I've only watched 40 minutes.
What's going on? And like, usually I take that as a bad note if I'm checking to see how much time is left. But it wasn't really. It was just, it did feel long, but I didn't hate that it was long because I was pretty interested the whole time. The only couple of times I was like checking, I was like, oh, this seems like we might be getting towards the end. And then I would check, even though I probably shouldn't. And I'd be like, oh, wow, nope. Okay, cool. Let's just, keep it going. Another montage. Great. Let's go.
There were some great montages in this
There
film.
are some fantastic montages in this. Overall, it was really good. Everyone was great in it. I didn't think anyone was really a bad actor in this, like had any bad parts. Everyone, I feel like, did a good job. I would say 8.5 out of 10.
Nice.
Depending on the day, it might be a 9, but 8.5 out of 10.
Right on. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Yeah. It's a movie that I've seen, I think, only 2 other times before this. So I think this is my 3rd viewing of it. But yeah, I mean, I love this movie. I think it's a great movie. It is long, like we've already mentioned multiple times. Which we'll try not to mention more going forward past this mini review section.
We will.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like a fun movie. Like it's a crazy, ridiculous movie with a ton of F-bombs, a lot of violence, a really interesting main character in Tony Montana that Al Pacino plays. Mm-hmm. Really great side characters too.
Yeah,
like Frank is great.
Manolo,
Manny, what's her name? The wife is great. Manny's fucking excellent.
I love Manolo.
Elvira, that's her name, the wife.
Yeah.
She's great. Michelle Pfeiffer. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just fun. It's just a fun movie.
Yeah.
I would probably give it like an 8.5 out of 10, like right around where Trev is at. Really, the only thing taking it down for me is just the length. It's just so long.
Yeah, it's really long. Yeah,
well, I'm too old for that now. I'm not like a stuck-up high school film snob.
Yeah, it's 4 hours. It's excellent by default.
Mm-hmm. Basically, I was like, this movie's long, and I felt tired.
I will say, there's not a ton though that you could really cut out of this to shorten it. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean,
like it uses
it
uses its length really well. Like it was a necessary length. It just was long.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you find that a lot with these types of movies as well, where they're like these long like gangster sagas where they're like telling a like life story basically. I mean, this one a little bit less so because you don't really see him like and he's younger and older. It's just like really dense of this period of time. But yeah, it's something you see all the time.
Do we know how long this movie takes place over the course of?
I would say probably like a few years,
yeah,
maybe.
It's never specified, though, I don't think.
There's a few time skips throughout it. Like,
There's a couple of them, yeah, but they really don't say a whole lot of like what's really happening.
Yeah,
time-wise.
which I'm kind of down with that.
Except for like
liked,
in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like the very, very beginning, where like they come over to America basically.
Yeah.
There's like the first time skip after they get off the boat, I think, and then they have the next time skip when. Well, I guess I could move that into the spoiler zone. Actually, I'll talk about it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the whole thing, and I'm kind of glad that I lined up with your points on that, because I thought I might have been going too low, but
no, I don't think so. I mean, there are people that like this is like their favorite movie of like all time, and they'll give it like a 10 out of 10. There's people that like relate to this movie hard, and they just love Tony Montana. Like they like that's like all they're about, you know.
I can get it actually. Yeah, I can see
which
it.
is cool. Yeah, you know. But yeah, you guys want to jump right into the spoilerino zone?
Yeah, just briefly, 2 more shout outs to rap music. He's mentioned, these are just some other lines that I came across in looking up references that I am familiar with. Notorious Big's 10 Crack Commandments is a song centers heavily around never get high on your own supply, which is
classic line.
I think Elvira's line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one that first mentions the rule. It's rule number 2.
Yeah, rule number 2.
Never follows that rule ever.
Yeah, so that the 10 Crack Commandments is literally, it's a song about rule 1 through 10 of drug dealing. And then Nas mentions I'm like Scarface sniffing cocaine in The World Is Yours, obviously, which also is probably a reference to the film.
Yeah, The World Is Yours is like his slogan once he's made it.
So that's
which is weird because he literally steals that slogan, doesn't he?
Yeah, from
he
Pan
takes
Am.
it from the blimp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's from The World Is Yours by Nas off of Illmatic in '94. I debated going back and forth about doing this in spoiler zone or out of spoiler zone. I guess we'll just do it in the spoiler zone so that we can have a free conversation about it. So
we're already there.
So official spoiler zone.
Yeah.
I don't know if I liked Al Pacino's performance in this film.
Really?
Yeah.
How come?
I can't tell if I'm just charmed by his level of charisma and not his actual acting. And I don't really know why, so I kind of tried to bring it up as like a potential line of thought. Like, I don't necessarily think that he was bad. I think that he's just such a bombastic character that it can kind of sometimes read as overacting.
Okay.
I understand that from the point of view of like the overacting type thing of like that, like Nick Cage always does, where people always say how bad of an actor he is and everything.
Yeah.
But it's also to me like a taste thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like whether you like that or not. Like I think when Nick Cage does that, it's hilarious.
Right.
And I just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's like the same with this case where like I just enjoy that character so much.
Yeah.
Because I feel like him acting that way really makes me see him as Tony Montana and not as Al Pacino.
Oh, I agree.
You know?
I
so
agree
in that
completely.
way, it is good acting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. So, yeah, that makes sense. That, I mean, basically, that I have been swayed that it is good acting. I kind of just wanted to bounce it off you guys because I was like, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, he's in the first half of the movie, it's much more subtle, and then towards the end, he's just so out of his mind, insane. And I'm like,
which makes sense though for the character.
It does.
progression.
Yeah, it does. I think maybe my favorite scene of his acting is after he slaps his sister in the bathroom, and then he's back at his table alone and just clearly fucked up beyond belief.
Yeah.
Dude, that whole night is fucked up for him.
That's probably my favorite scene, honestly.
Yeah.
I really love that whole scene of like Mel Burstyn is introduced, and then he makes another move at Elvira in front of Frank, and then he sees some random dude fondling his sister, gets into an altercation with his sister, goes back, and then almost gets killed. just a wild ass scene. And honestly, thinking back about it, it feels like it was like 40 minutes long. But
Yeah.
him just like slumped over and like drunkenly looking around as that weird character is like dancing.
The clown guy,
Dude,
the
so
clown
weird,
man?
so weird. And
It
like
is
all
a
these like
really
happy
bizarre
white
scene.
people. And that's the other thing too, is like the slow pan from the stage. It's like joy, and then you see Tony, and it's like sadness and drunkenness, and then you pan across the crowd, and it's all these like happy white people like singing and dancing and clapping, and then you just see these two dudes stone faced.
Yeah,
And you're like, oh fuck, like shit's about to go down, and that's like a
Tense.
super dreadful scene, and I love
is.
that too. There's also a comedian. Sorry, the comedian is there first. It starts with the comedian, and then
Yeah.
in the middle of the crowd,
who's like
pan.
telling jokes that I don't get.
No,
Just
not
like-
at all. Yeah,
I'm like, all right.
he's talking about like Ricky Ricardo and I Love Lucy. I'm like,
yeah, he's like
yeah,
making a joke
for
about.
sure.
I think about how long it was on air or something. I don't even know.
Yeah, I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, that's. I just kind of jumped
Yeah.
all over the place, but I like that scene a lot. So can I ask, do you guys prefer first half or second half, or have you even thought about that?
First half. I was just about to say I prefer the movie all the way from the beginning up until the end of the Frank conclusion more than the stuff about him being the actual like leader.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Like, I didn't
prefer it much more.
I didn't dislike the end. I started to get frustrated with him at
Yeah.
times, where I was like, wow, you are falling into all the classic tropes of the person who comes into power.
Yeah,
Like, every single
Yeah.
one of them you are falling into. So, like, I was more annoyed with him towards the end, but I still liked it because it kind of made sense as the type of character he was, that he would fall into
Yeah.
that.
and it's still fun to watch because he's so charismatic.
Yeah, for sure. So,
Did
yeah,
you?
I guess favored the first half.
Yeah, I when it started, because like obviously it's weird to see Scarface for the first time now. Like at this point, it's almost 40 years
Yeah.
old. It's literally everywhere in culture, and like as somebody, and I'm speaking for myself, and maybe Trev will agree, but like I've like my life has been dedicated to like watching movies and reading and watching TV and listening to music, and it's like Scarface is always being referenced, and so maybe my lowish score is tainted by that fact that I know so much about the film without ever having seen it before. But when I started it, I was cooking. I watched it the first like 30 minutes while cooking breakfast this morning, because I didn't know it was 3 hours long, and I was just like, oh shit, I gotta get to it. So I was making bacon, egg, and cheeses and watching it with my headphones on, and it was like the beginning is so dope. Like I love
It is.
the archival footage about the whole Cuban immigration crisis in Miami, which I had no context of. I'm not familiar with that. I really dig this. Like, this is a very Florida movie, which is
Very
cool.
Florida.
You know, like obviously,
Also not shot in Florida.
yeah. Wait, not shot in Florida? You
Shot in
said?
No, shot in L.A.
No shit. That's
Because Miami didn't want them to film there because they thought it would hurt tourism.
Wow, that's really interesting. They did
And, like,
they
a
did a
lot
good
of-
job then, because it looks
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
looks
it
very
looks
Florida.
a lot like. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess
they reset
Miami
a
and
lot of-
LA
a lot
have
of buildings.
similar vibes in a way.
Yeah.
But apparently there was also a lot of Cuban Americans in Miami at the time that were upset with the depiction of like the immigration that came over, like depicting them as criminals and
Right.
everything.
That makes sense.
Because in the movie, it's like shown that like Castro basically unloaded his prisons and
and
sent
just
them
sent them to
over.
Miami. Yeah. Which is
and there's
insane.
that great little like mini clip too of Fidel Castro like talking about it.
Yeah.
that they have in the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean,
About,
didn't they
like, them
actually
just
do
not
that
wanting
though?
to be a part
like
of the
they actually
revolution.
did do that. I'm pretty sure, right?
I'm sure they did send over criminals as well, but you can't say that like
No, not
Every
all of
Cuban
them.
that
were
came
criminals.
entirety. Yeah.
No. I'm saying he definitely mixed in a good number of criminals. If I remember.
I'm sure he did. Also probably a lot of them just weren't into communism, and so they were political.
Well, yeah,
prisoners.
their
So,
prisoner,
like-
their criminals are very different from what our criminals would be. So, like, it could have been 50% of the people. I'm not saying it was. I'm saying theoretically it could have been 50% of the people that came were his prisoners. But
Yeah.
if they were over here, maybe like 1, 2, like 3% of them would have been actual criminals because they just were
And
people
then
who were not into communism.
Yeah.
And then they were sent to Freedom Town underneath I-95.
Oh God, that's just awful.
Imagine
that was
being
horrible.
in a fucking prison camp underneath a highway. That would be a nightmare.
It's terrible. I really loved the first like actual scene after all that archival footage goes through and Tony's like in the police station being questioned.
Oh, the interrogation, so good.
Dude, he's so good in that scene. Like it was
good.
so fucking awesome.
His responses are great.
They're so good.
It shows you like so much of who he is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I liked his responses a lot just because they weren't the classic I'm antagonizing this cop because he's a cop answers. It was a bit of like, no, I'm going to cooperate with what you're asking me, but I'm going to be a little sassy about it because this is
a little bit of sass.
I got to be sassy about this. Like that's who he is. And it is kind of dumb what's going on a little bit. Yeah. So it's like, but he's not being purposefully confrontational, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
No, he's holding back a lot more than he would later in the film.
Right.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
But
like
I appreciate that.
That would
It's
not happen that way.
Yeah, I appreciate it because it's not over the top. Like, I'm like, screw you guys. I'm going to like just not do this, even though me saying, giving you a straight answer will probably expedite this process and I'll be done faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He knows he needs to get his green card too. He doesn't want to go back to Cuba.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I appreciate, though. I just appreciated it a lot. I thought it was a very put together scene.
Yeah. The two things I want to touch on before we jump to something else is great shirt, that red Hawaiian shirt. I mean, honestly, there's good shirts throughout this film.
Wardrobe.
Manolo
shirts are all
Manolo has a really, really strong Hawaiian shirt that later in the film, but great shirt. And then the whole like assassination scene where there's a riot and they're just like screaming Libertad like in the camps.
So good.
It's fucking awesome. I was like, damn, this movie is dope as shit. I was
It's
like
so good.
I was so hyped in the first like 30 minutes because I was just like, wow, this is so good. Like I get it. Obviously for me it kind of fell off a bit in the second half because it comes a little bit predictable, but yeah, the early days are just so good. Like Tony talking shit to, it's Omar, right? F. Murray Abraham, when they're like, it's like his first assignment that they get.
Yeah, Omar.
He's like coked out of his fucking mind in the car. They're just like both like bobbing back and forth, and like they're so like just zooted out. Shout out to F. Murray Abraham, bro. That guy is the man. He's been in so much stuff, and I was like, I recognize this man, but I can't quite place him. And then also briefly, Hector Salamanca from Breaking Bad is the fucking silent assassin. He's and that was cool.
Yeah,
I was like, oh shit, it's Hector. Like dinging the bell.
I actually didn't realize that while watching, and you just saying that. Holy shit! I didn't
right?
realize
Isn't that wild?
I knew it was someone I recognized.
Yeah,
I couldn't place it.
Yeah, because he looked super familiar, but I didn't think about it enough to like look him up.
He was dope.
Anything.
He was dope, and then the skull was dope. The guy with the sunglasses who ends up taking Tony's life at the end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
there's like
Abby
some
was
good.
like, here comes fucking Terminator.
Who was that guy? Who
He's
shown earlier in the movie?
Yes, and that's what I was about to say. There's like a really cool bit of foreshadowing where, so when they first go to Sosa's mansion, it's when right before Sosa gets hung out of the helicopter, which also insane scene.
Great scene.
You mean Omar?
Yeah, sorry, I said Sosa. Yeah, Omar. When Sosa goes to take they're sitting at that table, the three of them. The skull, I think is his name, the guy with the sunglasses, is standing in the background, just silently standing there, like arms folded in front of his chest or lap, and standing there. And then Sosa goes and takes the phone call, and then the camera kind of comes in a little bit, and then you see the skull positioned directly between Tony and Omar. So he was like foreshadowed as a menacing character without ever being really talked about until he comes in at the end and is just fucking shit up, climbing up ropes with a fucking shotgun and stuff.
Yeah, I did not notice it either, Trevor.
Yeah, I was just like,
notice.
Who's this Terminator dude, and what the hell?
Yeah, he's there.
Right,
I was like, that dude's he's too specific looking to not show up later in the film, and I'm glad that he did.
I thought he was goon number 6. Like,
no, man, the skull. Shout out to Amazon Prime X-Ray, which obviously helps a lot with character names. But yeah, he was cool.
I do want to mention too, before we jump away too much from the beginning, I really liked the conversation that it's like the first time we see Manny when he's talking to Tony, and it's about like the reason why Manny's also being sent to Freedom Town is because he told him that he worked in sanitation instead of being sent to a sanitarium.
Yeah, that was great.
It's such a great like conversation between the two of them. Tony's like, "What?
What did you say?"
He's like, "What the fuck?" And Manny's just like, "You told me sanitation."
Yeah,
man.
Manny is a handsome motherfucker.
Dude, Manny is the GOAT.
He is so dope.
They have
He's
such
my favorite
a good
character
dynamic
by far.
Their dynamic with each other is really good.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Do y'all understand why Tony is so against Manny dating his sister? Like, it's like, why would you want a stranger to be that person? Like, it should be a person you know and you trust and you know will take care of her. Like, it's perfect. And it's so devastating what ends up happening in that storyline.
I will say, I kind of get it in a sense of he knows Manny, and like we see multiple times him and Manny like trying to hit on
Manny
women,
being sleazy.
Yeah, Manny being sleazy. So he knows. He doesn't. I don't think he ever. At least we don't see Manny ever be serious about a relationship, and he wants someone that is going to be with and take care of his little sister forever. Yeah. And realistically, he's so deluded that there probably would never be a person that could do that.
Right.
There wouldn't be.
Which we kind of get a little hint of that being the reality at the end.
Yeah.
When the sister comes in and has that very, very strange scene that kind of comes out of left field in my mind. I was like, what the?
Oh, you thought I thought it was a pretty good build up to that because
that shit was wild.
Just like you were saying.
It was wild, but like
the audience can tell there's no one that's gonna be okay for his sister.
Oh, for sure.
Clearly, he's got some sort of fucked up like shit going on in his head.
Oh, absolutely. It's just it still was a wild scene in my mind of just her coming in half naked, like just fuck me, and I'm like, what the hell is happening right now? And then when she started shooting at him, I was like, okay, yeah, no, this makes a lot more sense. Suddenly, I was like, is this movie about to take a really weird turn?
No. Yeah, I feel like it's a really good conclusion of their storyline.
Me too.
But I do get his mindset a little bit for not wanting Manny to talk to her, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that.
Like he the reason he doesn't is because he knows Manny so well, I guess.
Well, it's also because he didn't want
and
her
he's deluded.
Dating anybody in his world, right?
That
he didn't
too,
want
for
anybody. Sure. He didn't want her in the world at all, even though like he was like supplying her with money and shit.
Yeah,
which
and a beauty school.
I guess in his mind is just
you're
giving...
like egging her on to be a part of your you're adding her to your life, and your life is surrounded by criminals. Like, what do you?
Yeah,
I get
the last 30 minutes is so devastating. I think for every part except Tony, like. I didn't really care that he died, you know? I was devastated for Manny.
He went out like a champ.
I was devastated for his sister. Fucking Ernie, the pig man. That sucked. Dude. They're just getting gutted, you know? Like,
rip Ernie, dude.
Maybe that's part
Ernie.
of the thing about maybe not hitting a higher score for me is like I didn't really care about Tony at the end. I cared about all his associates more.
But I feel like that's also like
kind of part of
the
it.
sign of a great cast.
True.
You know?
The cast is phenomenal. I mean, jumping back.
I don't know, it was
no,
sorry.
Go ahead, Trev.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
I don't even remember how we got to this topic. There was something else, but no, anyways.
I was asking about why he was against Manny and his sister.
Yeah, that. Which I answered, I guess.
Speaking of Manny, and then I'll take a back seat for a bit. The first scene where they go to get the coke from the Colombians, man, that is such a good fucking scene. Like, and it now kind of reminds me, I feel like the filmmaking isn't as specific or unique in the second half. Like, there were some moments, you know, like using the TV to cover the chainsaw, cutting from the chainsaw revving up to like pure diegetic sound outside to go see Manny like flirting with the girl, and then cutting back into the chainsaw, and then cutting back out, and like not crossfading any audio. I was like very jarring, and I was like, oh, are we flipping forward in time? No, we're not. We're just I guess indicating how aloof Manny is to what's happening inside.
Yeah,
but that scene is so cool.
Waiting for their 15 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing too.
He said 15 minutes. Come up.
I think it made me feel like it's been like 30 or 40, and Manny just has no idea what's happening. But then he's like, they're checking the time, obviously.
I do have a couple of things to say about that scene, though.
Yeah.
From trivia, because I was starting to spoil it before podcast, and Will got mad at me. So the girl that plays the actress that plays the girl that is flirting with Manny in the car, waiting outside at the chainsaw scene.
Yeah.
In the blue bikini, she apparently was very distressed on set. Not from that scene, from the violent nature of one of the scenes that they were filming. It might have been the chainsaw scene. It didn't say in the trivia, but and then she left the set, and then from there on, she's like been missing. Like, she was never found. There was an episode of like some sort of like cold cases show. So I forget which one it was. There's an episode about her. Yeah, she's never been found. Apparently, before she left set, when she was distressed, she was talking about some type of like money laundering in her family and people being out to try to kill her.
What?
So, like, that's pretty fucking crazy, isn't it?
That's
what
wild. I'm so glad I threw a fit about you telling me about that before the podcast. That's so dope.
That was the one I was about to read too.
Wow.
That's wild.
Isn't that really crazy?
That's bizarre.
Oh my
That's
God.
really insane. But yeah, so we basically see the last of her in the movie, which is really a weird thing.
That's
it's very
fucked
strange.
up.
That's really fucked up.
Also, about the chainsaw scene, there's one cut there's like one shot, I guess, that was cut out of the final product, and it was like of an actual limb being cut off, so they took that out.
Yeah, I saw. Sorry, go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say?
I saw that they got an X rating for this film twice. So it was originally given an X. He recut it to remove some stuff, and they still gave it an X. I mean, that makes sense that they had to cut some shit out, because I was surprised they didn't show any limbs being cut.
I think nowadays that would this movie might have hit PG-13. Honest to God, like
no, there's too many fucks in it. Trevor.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right.
And
Sorry,
tits.
And there's nudity in it. There's tits in it. But
you get what I mean, though.
About that piece, though, of what you're saying, Will, the cut that we watched is actually the original cut. It's the first cut.
No way.
So what happened was
Did I watch the right
It got
thing?
an X rating. You did. It got an X rating on the first cut. It got an X rating on the second cut. It got an X rating on the third cut, and then they went to a special council where they voted like 18-2 or whatever at the ratings board, and they voted in favor of being rated R. And De Palma argued in the favor of, if this is okay, then the first cut should have been fine and should be rated R. They said no. He ended up releasing anyway the original cut that he made, the first cut that he showed the board. So the theatrical version of the movie is the one that was rated X.
No way.
Yeah.
That's fucking
wild.
Awesome. How was he able to get that past the studios and the MPAA?
Well, he didn't need to get it past the studio. He needed to get past MPAA.
That is so dope.
Damn.
Apparently, one of the reasons why they said they wanted it rated X was the clown got shot too many times.
Which is so dumb. I don't even remember.
Stupid. That's why he
didn't even have a real face. It was just a mask.
Right. And he had a fucking bodysuit on. Like, who gives a shit about this guy?
That's baller as fuck about De Palma.
Yeah, that's amazing. Also, is this our first repeat? Oh, no, it's not, because of Hitchcock. Our second repeat.
No, Hitchcock right off the bat.
Second repeat director, though. Shout out to Kirk and
yeah.
What the fuck was it called? Jesus, I already forgot.
Blowout,
yeah. Shout out to De Palma, dude. De Palma's got some cool movies.
De Palma's great.
But the chainsaw scene, I want to talk about that a little more.
Dude, it's fucking brutal.
It was brutal, but I really don't think that chainsaw would have been covered up by turning up the TV. I really don't think that would have worked. Chainsaws are loud.
Well, I think it masked it enough from a second story building with someone not trying to listen in. like, because when they did walk further towards, like, when they actually finally got out of the car, they could, I mean, there was noise. At least the audience could hear the noise, so I assume they could.
I guess.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when they started actually fucking trying to go help Tony.
Finally getting out of the car.
From the car, maybe, because, like, you're still in Miami Beach, and, like, there's a lot of noise.
Yeah, but there were so many people downstairs. Would you not be concerned? Like, suddenly it's like, I hear a chainsaw. Does anyone else hear a chainsaw coming from upstairs?
I thought they were gonna do an Well, I say I thought it was gonna happen. It's been so long since I saw the movie, but I was like, maybe they'll have the indication of, like, you could see the blood on the window from the outside.
Yeah.
So, like,
I thought the same thing.
Like, they keep cutting to the POV of, like, him looking up. Like, they shoot from his face and then to the actual window. So, like, you could see the blood on the window. I'm like, Manny, come on, Manny, stop hitting on the chick and get out of there.
Go help. Nope, doesn't happen.
An other guy, I don't remember what the other guy's name was.
Yeah, I don't know. And then Angel is the one that got cut up.
Yeah, Angel died. Rip.
Poor Angel. Never got to see any more of him.
But yeah, no. He says he's his brother. Wasn't his brother. He's just his friend.
The shootout was pretty good.
Yeah, it was great, I thought.
The suppressed Mac 10 and all that fun stuff. That was pretty cool.
So they're Mac 10s, not Uzis?
The Mac. It was also a Mac 10 in the shootout in the club with the clown dude.
Nice.
There are Uzis in the film. It's just not in those scenes. The Uzis are...
So the only difference that I know between those two guns from Call of Duty is that the Mac 10 is smaller than the Uzi. Thoughts?
Yes, that is true. Mac 10 is...
Okay, facts. Dude, Call of Duty is the GOAT, dude. It teaches me about guns.
All I know about guns is from video games.
Yeah.
Mac 10 is definitely, like, a shorter package, and it's square. It's very, like, factory friendly, I guess. And
isn't a Mac 10 just like it's like a augmented pistol essentially?
You can look at it that way. It is built from the ground up to be a fully automatic.
Okay, so it's not like a Glock 18 that they can just make semi-automatic.
No, a Glock 18 that would be made into a fully, like, a Glock turned automatic is going to be way more reliable than a Mac 10. Quite honestly, Mac 10s are not that reliable. You can buy them fully auto legally in the United States.
No shit.
Right on. That's a good stocking stuffer out there for you guys for Christmas.
It's rare for them to come up for sale because they have to be pre-ban. I think we talked a little bit about pre-ban weapons.
We did talk about pre-ban
in Fargo, but one of my favorite YouTubers that does gun stuff, Demolition Ranch, got.
It's not FPS Russia.
No, well, first of all, FPS Russia, that's a whole thing.
He went to jail for some reason. I don't know why.
He was a suspect in a murder case.
Holy shit, I didn't know that. All I know is his dope video of him shooting the AA-12s. He dual-wielded AA-12s.
Yeah, he did. The guy that he got all the automatic weapons through was shot to death. And
that doesn't sound good.
I think this is it. And
Craig left.
Oh, Craig died. For those nobody knows
Craig.
about Craig stuff.
For you guys that don't know Craig, he records our recordings in Discord just in case my PC crashes again.
Or mine.
Or Will's.
My hard drive is full.
Yeah. I gotta see if I can restart him. What happened, Craig?
What a little
bum. But yeah, he's gone, Trevor.
He's gone. Okay, well, I guess hopefully this recording doesn't screw up.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
But
at the very least, Trevor, your IMFDB sponsorship is still holding strong. You had a lot of good knowledge.
Hey,
there.
I know Mac 10s on my own. Just outside of it.
Mac 10s? That's Trave.
I would
you guys know
but
Mac 10 the rapper?
Speaking of guns,
I don't. No. I have no idea.
But speaking of guns, he's back.
Craig's back.
No,
Craig's gone.
Oh,
Craig's back.
Damn, that's good podcasting.
Yeah, that is good podcasting. Trevor, speaking of guns, though, apparently in the scene at the end where Al Pacino is shooting his assault rifle,
M16,
whatever it is, M4, M16, or whatever.
Colt. Yeah, it's actually an AR-15.
Whatever it is. He was holding the barrel and he like severely burned his hand because he was holding it wrong. Even though there were like blanks in it and stuff, it still like fucked him up.
That's
but
hilarious.
Yeah, I just thought I'd throw it out.
That's pretty great, actually. Why would he grab
because he held the gun wrong. Can you imagine, Trevor?
Why would you grab the barrel? The whole, like, you literally, the grenade
'Cause,
launcher
dude, all
is
he's
a grip
saying
as
is,
well. Like, what?
Say hello to my new friend, and then he just fucking goes.
Shout out to the noob tube,
That
dude.
is a
dude. Noob tube is hardcore.
Big noob tube guy.
oh. It is. I do love a little grenade launcher. You can buy those as well. You just can't buy the shells for them.
So you can
only
buy the
shoot flare
launcher,
rounds.
you just can't add
Yeah.
flare, okay. Or like smoke rounds.
You can even buy, those big 6-shooter ones that you see,
Yeah.
like in video games and stuff, where it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you like punch it and it rotates like a revolver. Yeah, you can buy those.
That's wild.
I think you might have to have a permit for those. I don't remember. It's been a while since I looked into buying one.
I would hope
But
It's,
what do you mean
some
hope so?
fucking Joe Schmo just walks off the fucking street and gets a goddamn noob tube revolver. That's fucked.
Well, the shells itself is the dangerous part.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, if he's going to buy that, you would assume that he would have some kind of intent to get the shells. You know.
No, man, you just stick a potato in it.
Hell yeah, potato gun.
Potato with a small explosive charge at the back end of it. It'll be fine. It's fine.
What did you guys think about Frank?
Frank. Now, just to make sure, this is his
Yeah.
boss at the beginning.
his
Yeah,
boss.
yeah.
Okay, okay,
Like,
just making
the
sure.
like Jewish dude.
I only half agree with Tony's statement about Frank of him being soft.
Yeah.
I think Frank is playing smart, but I think
he's
is
staying small.
playing
he's
small
staying-
and safe.
Yeah.
like,
for sure.
He could definitely play it smart, but still be like getting bigger and like trying harder, and like trying to push forward, but and still play it safe. So I think he screwed up, and so I only half agree with Tony's statement of him being soft. I think he could have done better, but still been smart about it, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't really have strong feelings about Frank. I like the first scene they have with him after the chainsaw
Weird.
scene, essentially. They go to dinner and like he's like very drunk, it seems like. And then all of a sudden, like Tony gets at the dance with Elvira, and then he's talking to Omar. Like, what do you think of him? They're like, they have a very sober conversation. He's an interesting character. I have questions about Elvira, which aren't super relevant to this, but it just makes me like I'm more
we should talk
I'm
about
more
Elvira,
drawn
too.
to Elvira than I am to Frank. I think that he's interesting, but at the end of the day, we kind of do get the feeling, or he is kind of painted as like a small fry, essentially. Like when you go to Sosa's, when you go to is he in Bolivia?
I think so.
Somewhere
He's not Colombia.
he's somewhere in Latin America. When you go to Sosa's
it is
mansion,
Bolivia.
it's like, oh Jesus, like this is what an actual drug lord is like, not Frank with his little.
Well, he's
his
a
little
manufacturer,
Miami. Right?
So like he's got like the plantation or whatever you'd call it.
Yeah. Frank is cool. I mean, I think any legitimate claim he has to being not soft is completely wiped away by the fact that he literally grovels for his life.
Yeah.
And
Good scene.
The guy with him doesn't stand up for him.
Who,
Like-
Mel?
No. What's the other guy's name? We were
Eddie?
just talking about how he died.
Ernie.
Ernie.
Well, I don't even know what Ernie's role is
Well, Ernie is supposed to be muscle like all the other guys are, right?
But I mean, what's he supposed to do? He's got the little dude with
he's not
the
doing
Mac
anything in that
10. He's got Tony with a pistol, and Manny with a pistol or a SMG. Like what the fuck's Ernie gonna do?
I think he had a revolver in that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had just a pistol.
Either way, Ernie is whatever. I think that it was hilarious when he
Ernie's
like looks at Mel and he's like, Mel, what are you gonna do? And Mel's like, this is your fucking bed, dude. He's like, you made this shit. I'm just here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna go to whoever's the most powerful man.
Basically,
and then
'cause you
and
could
then get
see
shot right in the
at this
stomach, which is
point,
hilarious.
Mel was doing his rounds.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like he's just going to everybody, so there's no protection like he was trying to guarantee.
yeah. That scene was dope. I think if we're talking specifically about Frank, I mean, he's
Yeah,
pathetic.
he is.
He's pathetic. He literally kisses Tony's feet and then gets shot in the
Yes, he
head.
does.
You know, like the fuck Frank. He's a fucking bum. Grand scheme, you know.
Yeah, for
Dude,
sure. I
Mel
agree.
drank milk at a club.
What the fuck? I was like, is that a white Russian? He just has like a tall boy
No, that's
of
milk,
straight
Cody.
milk. I
That
was
was not a
so
white
thrown
Russian.
off by that. I was like, what
I
is
have
this
to
fucking
assume-
guy doing?
I have to assume it's because he was. Did we ever find out if he actually was a cop or not?
He's a cop.
Okay, because it does. Like, there's that little conversation where they say that he.
How do I know you're a
They're
cop?
like, "Are you even a cop?"
Yeah.
or whatever. And regardless, playing
I
the
kind of
role
assume
of
he
a
is 'cause
cop,
his shirt's tucked in.
I get. Well,
a
that's
big
still
cop
he's
movie.
playing
And
a
his
part.
pants are pulled up too high.
And he's drinking milk
Like,
in a
make-
club.
Exactly. The milk is a non-alcoholic thing,
Yeah.
so therefore it kind of pushes that I'm a cop on duty. I can't be drinking alcohol,
Yeah.
even if I am a crooked cop.
I don't know if would he be on duty at that point. Hopefully he's not.
Like negotiating with a
I mean-
fucking criminal.
Yeah,
It would make sense if he was on duty in a sense because he's in there
This is
and
his
it's like,
job.
why were you in this club? It's and he's like, oh, I was. There's the theories about this guy or
Surveillance.
whatever. I'm kind of looking into him, and it's part of his detective or whatever thing.
When Mel asks Tony, "Do you remember me?" When did we see Mel before that?
I don't think we do. I think it's just
Okay.
implying that they've met through Sosa before,
Yeah, I don't
or
think
not
we
Sosa,
do
Frank
either.
before.
Because before the conversation starts, I was like, "Oh, is this one of the cops from like the very first scene where they're interrogating Tony before coming to America?"
but they don't show their faces, right? And that's
They do.
They show the head detective that's like questioning him. They show his face, and
Most
they
of
actually
it
show
is
the two
shot-
grunt cops as well.
Yeah, most of it is shot from
It's
from,
from
Tony's eye
Tony's-
level, but there are
Yeah.
brief shots where the cops are talking to each other and we see their faces.
Yeah, all I can think of are the cop arms.
Yeah.
with just looking at Tony.
Yeah. So
I think that scene is more implying that they've met, and or it gives us a reason for Tony to say what this guy's job is as
Yeah.
head of like the drug investigation thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like
Yeah.
it's our reason for exposition, I
yeah,
guess.
that's fair. So any lingering thoughts on Frank?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I liked Frank. I thought he was a pussy, but he was still like the actor did a good job. And, like I enjoyed the scenes with Frank. I liked how jovial he was. He
Yeah.
was always like laughing at his own jokes, and it's like this is just classic Frank.
Yeah.
You don't really take him seriously, and he's kind of a bitch, but like Frank's Frank. It's
Yeah.
kind of it's not as like disturbing and menacing as the rest of the drug world. It's just like Frank.
Yeah.
It's just classic.
He's a
And
small
it's 'cause
fry.
he's small time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, he's just doing his own thing.
Small
He's got like
potatoes.
his nice little mansion in Miami.
Sweet
He's
ass
got
mansion.
his beautiful wife. He's got a couple of muscle and that's it.
So
Like,
were they
let him do
married,
his
by the
thing.
way? Did we ever find out for sure if Frank and
Elvira.
We don't know if they were married or not.
Elvira were actually ever married or not?
I assumed they weren't married. I assumed she was just like dating him
Me too.
or like around him.
His current
thing.
Like I feel
Thing.
like her actually marrying Tony was like kind of like a thing outside of the box in that world.
yeah.
From how I
Yeah.
saw it.
Yeah. Okay, so
Okay.
let's that's a
But-
good segue for us to get into Elvira.
Yeah, Elvira. What a
I
strange
do not
girl.
buy
Elvira.
their relationship. I do not buy
Oh,
Elvira
no.
as a legitimate character. I have a lot of problems with Elvira. I don't think
Okay.
she's
yeah.
a good character, and I'm curious to hear what you two think.
I can see that from the point of like she doesn't bring a whole lot to the table. She's kind of just always in a bad mood and like not really saying a whole lot. She's more just like a presence that's in the room. But I think that she still has some good interactions with Tony. like the scene where she is being picked up by Tony when he's still just like one of Frank's dudes.
That's the only good scene they have.
Frank is
when he
running
wears her
away.
hat.
Which apparently
That was a great
an
scene.
ad-lib scene. He accidentally like found her hat or whatever, and the car sat on it or something like that, and put it on his head, and that like surprised her. And so like in reality, Michelle Pfeiffer laughed, but she stayed in character.
That's amazing.
And like continued with the scene, and he continued with the scene.
See,
so they ad-libbed it.
If they had done that for
fucked.
all of it, that would have been great.
Because that was like the only time I felt like they actually had chemistry.
Which
sucks.
Yeah, 'cause they did. They had legitimate chemistry.
Before I forget about ad-libs, apparently when in the chainsaw scene, when Al Pacino calls the cocaine yayo, he ad-libbed that. He had just heard that slang term while he was studying for the role, but Brian De Palma went with it because they loved it.
Wow.
So,
Yeah. I mean, it
him
makes
using
sense.
Yayo there.
That's cool.
It's a great slang term for it.
It is.
Yeah, I don't like in the entire context of the film, right? We've seen the whole movie. How can anyone buy her marrying him?
Yeah.
The only
He's another
time
thing.
I guess.
They never show affection.
the only time she's joyful with him is the scene when he puts her hat on and she smiles.
Yeah.
The only time. And that's like well before he
Yeah.
really starts making actual advances at her. And
I think he was making actual advances.
Well,
at
he
her during
actually
that.
makes an advance.
you're
in
right.
that scene.
Remember
Sorry.
he, like,
Yeah,
tries
he
to
totally
grab her, but
forces
still.
himself on her. Yeah. And then he's like, don't worry about it. Look at me. I'm goofy with my hat on.
He
After
makes
I
a
just tried to
joke,
fucking essentially molest you. I don't understand. I don't get her. I don't get her character. She's
She's just miserable, and she's addicted to cocaine.
She is 100% addicted, and Tony, I guess, is the safest hookup because he's at the top, so she can get all she.
Her boyfriend.
Yeah, but he's the killer. I guess it's better to be with the killer than the killie in a way.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
I don't know, I agree with Will. I don't buy most of their relationship. She seems like she hates him the whole time.
The entire
I was
time.
expecting, like, at the beginning, I was like, oh, she doesn't really like him, but maybe she's just doing that to try and get him to stop because he's just another, like, the revolving door of, like, runners or grunts or whatever that her boyfriend has. I'm sure she's had this happen before. And then when we had the laugh
Yeah.
in the car,
Yeah.
I was like, this is it. This is the turnaround. This is going to be, like, they're going to start falling in love and having an actual great chemistry and romance and everything's actually going to start happening.
That's like,
And then it didn't.
Yeah.
didn't at all.
All that happened was he came and had this really awkward conversation where he asked her to marry him
Yeah.
and then showed up later and was like, you should
I
pack
killed your boyfriend.
I killed your boyfriend. You should pack your
You're
stuff.
coming
We're
with me.
We're
You're coming
leaving.
with me.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it almost feels like she's a hostage.
Yeah, they
Like-
do allude to like off-screen her liking him when he's like when they have their big fight in the restaurant, when he's like completely fucking like drunk and high
Yeah.
and shit.
Yeah.
And
So is
he
she,
says
though.
that when she leaves, he says to Manny, I think, don't worry, when she has a Quaalude in the morning, she'll love me again.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, does she really love you, or is she just getting fucking high?
And that's the thing. Like I can't even say that that's definitely.
But they allude to the relationship.
Yeah, but is
They
it
do
just
allude,
is that
but-
just Tony Bravado?
It's not a relationship.
It could be Tony Bravado for sure.
It's
I would
so-
I feel like it would have had more impact. That scene just felt awkward to me.
Yeah. Same.
What, the
Instead,
restaurant
like,
scene?
Yeah, the restaurant scene. Like, I get it's supposed to feel
It was
bit
it was a
awkward
crazy scene.
because, anyone yelling in a public place like a restaurant is always a very awkward thing for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Except
Yeah.
for maybe the person yelling because they're deluded or out of their mind.
It kind of reminds me of like and It's Always Sunny scene where like they're yelling at each other in a restaurant and the waiter keeps coming over to like tell them to quiet down and they just yell at the waiter back.
Like that,
Basically act like they're better than everyone else.
I feel like that scene would have had so much more impact if they had shown any other happiness in their relationship,
Right.
other than the hat scene, which was improv, and I guess the wedding day. The
But
wedding
even
day was
then-
kind of happy, but even then, it was
You
just
She
who's
didn't
not going
seem
to smile
happy at
on their
all.
wedding day. You know,
and
like
apparently they didn't even kiss. It was like a simulated kiss, like Hollywood style.
It was so the vibe was so weird between the two of them, man. And
He has a tiger though.
that shit was wild.
so.
Can we talk about the how much
inspiration,
he is
the
that
Tiger
guy
King?
from Tiger King?
Yeah.
the dude that's like barely mentioned to Tiger King, the drug lord guy in Miami who like has like a compound with tigers.
And he's like,
It's just like
Scarface
that's Tony
was-
Montana.
Yeah, he said they based that movie off of me, and it's like, I mean, looking at him and looking at his compound, I'm like, I can see it. I can see.
Speaking of what this movie was based on, though, there is a original Scarface from 1932 that it is loosely based on. It's because the original Scarface is also about an immigrant that comes over to America that becomes like a gangster drug lord, but it is apparently very different. I think the original Scarface takes place in Chicago, directed by Howard Hawks.
Oh shit!
I haven't seen it, but I really want to see
Wasn't
it at
this
some
movie
point.
dedicated to Howard Hawks and some like
It
like
was
Ben
dedicated
Hecht
to him,
Oh,
yeah.
so
something
that
like
makes sense then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was dedicated to him for, giving the jumping off point. Apparently, I think it was De Palma it had to have been De Palma that watched the original Scarface like on TV randomly and like gave him the inspiration to like when he watched it, he was like, oh, this can easily be made into a modern movie and adapted to a modern cinema.
Yeah.
And that's how he came up with like the idea basically. And then Oliver Stone ran with it with his cocaine addiction.
That's tight. So much
Very
cocaine,
cool.
bro. Him blowing like
So-
the full pile of cocaine at the end. I was just like, this is making me so anxious. Like, how does he
Dude.
not have an overdose, bro? How does he not die? How's his
He
heart not
probably
explode?
would have. Realistically, he probably would have if he wasn't shot 1,000
so
times.
much cocaine.
So I do have to say, I have seen the ending scene of this movie before. In one of the YouTube channels I follow had like a doctor or like an ER person like break down injuries and stuff.
Nice.
And I'd been watching some of them, and he did a Scarface one where he did the end scene, and he's like, how realistic would it be for him to have been shot that many times
He
and
got
still going?
destroyed.
And I'm pretty sure he said that he would have died, even with all the coke, probably about halfway through that, whenever he was peppered with all the machine guns earlier on,
Yeah.
and then still was going.
And he's just screaming
I mean,
like, "I eat your bullets! I eat your bullets!"
It's a crazy scene, but it is fucking awesome.
It's so
Like,
good.
It's
No, it's
wild.
absolutely
It's such
amazing.
a crazy cool scene.
It's wild.
And then the pan up on the fucking statue with "The World Is Yours" on
Yeah.
it. Like, come on. I mean, like, it's just fucking good. Dude.
No, that's phenomenal.
It's good pulpy cinema.
Yeah.
And it's what we're here for.
I was
Honestly,
pretty.
I love it.
Sorry, Kyle, I cut you off.
No, go for it. Go for it.
I was pretty thrown that it just ended right there with him like falling into the fucking fountain, and then
Yeah.
it's just like
That's the
a
end,
slow zoom out as they all, swarm throughout the mansion, and then it's just
Yeah.
like boom, like dedicated to Howard Hawks and Benjamin Hecht, and credits.
The thing
roll.
is that the story's over.
yeah,
Yeah, there's not really anyone else to
Tony's-
look
Tony's
at.
dead.
The only living person that he
Is his
knows
mom.
is his mom, and she only really existed to be a
catalyst.
a wall or a catalyst or something between him and his little sister.
Yeah.
Like that's the only
mom
reason
hates
his
him.
mom really existed in this movie. Like, and I will say I was legitimately surprised when his mom and sister showed up, because he says at the beginning how he has no family.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a part of his cover story because, like,
Oh,
they-
absolutely.
Like we were talking about before, he talks to Manny about cover stories.
Yeah.
You know? But did you guys have any like final thoughts or scenes you wanted to talk about? Any characters or anything before we wrap it up?
I do want to talk a little bit about the bombing.
Oh fuck
didn't
yeah,
happen.
dude! I did too. That was my
Oh,
last
yeah.
one.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't-
go for it.
Yeah, I can't not talk about
go
that
for it.
because it does show a human side to Tony Montoya. You know,
Montana.
he will not Montana. Why do I say Montoya?
Inigo
That's got to be
Montoya.
something I've.
Princess Bride.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. That's definitely what happened. But it does show like a nice human side where he's not this awful gangster, monster murderer.
Yeah.
He doesn't like, he won't kill the wife and kids. He just won't do it. And yeah, he's coked out of his mind whenever he says he won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But he still doesn't do it, and I did appreciate that. I really thought he was going to go through with it.
Me too.
Like, I really thought that he was just going to do it, and then because he did it, it was going to eat him from the inside out and cause... Because I'd seen the end scene of this film, unfortunately, before I watched it. Which, I mean, it's hard not to have seen the end scene of this film, I guess.
It's completely, yeah. I've never seen the full thing, but, like, anyone who hasn't seen the Say Hello to My Little Friend, like, noob tube, and then walk out on top of the balcony and start spraying the M16, which I guess is an AR-15.
Like
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's everywhere.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's impossible not to know how this movie ends at this point in time in history.
Yeah.
I guess you can. I guess some people have been maybe living under a rock and don't know.
But like,
it's almost impossible.
Yeah, I think it's
not to
impossible
know. But I really thought he was going to go through with the bombing and was just going to somehow have that eat him alive. But it makes sense that he doesn't, and then
he couldn't do it.
Sosa sends the people after him, which makes sense. But I really thought he was going to do it, and I kind of appreciated that he didn't.
Yeah, me too. That scene was was very tense. It absolutely felt like once. I think his character name is The Shadow. It's the guy who plays Hector Salamanca in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Once The Shadow is like, no, it's gonna happen. Sosa said it's happening, so it's happening. I was like, oh fuck, like he's about to do this. And yeah, I had the same thing, like he's gonna spiral out of control because of this, because clearly he's conflicted about it, but end of the day, you know, it didn't seem too outside the realm of possibility in terms of being an act that he would commit. You know, he's a terrible person, realistically. You know, like, sure, he has morals,
he's absolutely
but like,
an awful person.
He's a fucking asshole, and you know, it's like, well, shit, this is like that next step in terms of being terrible. But yeah, I mean, that's a very good scene when he's just like screaming essentially at the Shadow and then just shoots him in the fucking head, because he's
like talking shit about him.
They get very close. I mean, they're at the UN.
Yeah.
And then it's okay. But yeah, very tense.
It gets right to the point.
Right.
Like where he's about to flip the second switch.
Yeah, he turns the key, the kill switch, whatever the fuck. Also, I thought it was cool, and this is the last thought that I have, in that, right after that scene when Tony talks on the phone to Sosa is like absolutely distraught on that phone call. He's like close to crying about how...
Yeah.
How
his whole
fucked
empire
up
is going
it
to come
is.
crumbling down around him.
Right, because like they're on to me, yada yada, you fucked up, etc. And then, you know, Tony's just like neck deep in fucking cocaine. Yeah, it's a crazy movie, man. I mean, definitely, I can't imagine anybody besides me and Trevor having not seen this film at this point. But like, it's definitely super fun to watch.
Abby hadn't seen it.
You know, your mileage may vary. It's long. Definitely block out some fucking time for it. You know, cook some breakfast while you're watching it.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
But yeah, it was great, Kyle.
I do want to mention too, before we go, because we forgot to talk about it in the chainsaw scene. At the very end of that scene, and how fucking badass it is, where Tony goes out into the street after he's already been fucked up, and then shoots the guy in front of the entire public.
Just a whole ton of old white people.
He just walks up to him and he's like, hey, fuck you. He just fucking shoots him in the face.
Yeah.
And then fucking gets away. They fucking yeet out of there in their sick fucking convertible.
And the thing is,
like,
that's insane.
It's not a sick convertible. That shit is beat to fuck. And B, he doesn't even yeet out. He like makes a 3-point turn to let
Yeah.
to let
Well,
Manny.
he's got to turn around.
Yeah,
He's
you
got to
get-
turn around.
I
They
was-
get Manny, who's been shot in the car and got to get out of there.
I was low key disappointed that he didn't drive over the dead body. I thought that was going to happen. Just like you get like a quick thump over him.
I guess, but there's probably an actual actor they had laying in the street, so they probably didn't want to.
Fair point.
They probably didn't have time to get like a body double to bump over.
Yeah,
like
wild.
like a fake double.
Wow, that he just like strolled out and shot that man in front of
Yeah.
like 50 onlookers and didn't get caught.
Honestly, I was expecting that to become
Dude
a point
is
of
so
contention later
badass.
in the
No,
movie.
dude.
Yeah,
It's
Like-
just such a badass point. In the
and
movie.
It is a badass point,
It
but I was
only comes up.
He just killed his friend Angel.
Yeah, it only comes up because Frank essentially rats on him to Mel. That's the only point. That's the only reason it gets brought up later because it's like part of Mel's
but like
leverage.
all those people saw him. How was he never brought in?
To me,
like
the way I made it logical is that it is a bunch of old white people seeing a Cuban immigrant murder
You know
someone
what?
in the street.
there was
and
Cubans there, wasn't
they
there?
they don't know a Cuban from another Cuban, like that's. But also that's obviously within the lens of like the insane racial reckoning we've had this year. So I'm probably hypersensitive to that. But
I mean,
that's
back
how
whenever
I
all these
made it logical.
Cubans were first coming over, I could see it being a thing back when now or even a couple years ago, people in Miami would definitely be able to tell a Cuban from another Cuban, no matter who you are.
Yeah, that makes
because
sense.
it's such a melting pot down there of everybody.
Right.
Like you can't not be able to tell people apart.
Yeah.
But
I will also say that Cubans look like all sorts of different types of people.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Like Cubans are not like anything specific. I feel like they're not super anything specific. There's like
they're not.
Yeah.
wild variation. Like
Yeah.
I mean,
that's-
in any realistically,
Like, I mean, one of my best
matter
friends,
who you're-
Ked,
what-
is Cuban, and he looks like just
Ked's
another
Cuban?
white dude. Yeah, he's 50% Cuban. His dad's full Cuban.
no idea.
Yeah,
Point
Did I know
proven,
that?
man.
I might have known that.
he's just like another white guy,
Yeah.
but he's Cuban.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that goes a little bit away to explaining why Al Pacino, an Italian American, is playing a Cuban. Beyond the
Yeah.
obvious, like Hollywood
I
whitewashing.
guess,
of it.
yeah.
I mean, that's what it was in the 80s. Also, with Al Pacino just being like a fucking star back then.
Yeah. It's so.
They
wild.
probably looked at him and said, "You have slightly dark skin. You're in. Let's
Right.
go." And it's
Good to
like,
go.
"Oh, okay, that's not great, but whatever."
I mean, that's probably true. He had darker skin and dark hair. So
Yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
I did. It was a
you
good
know,
time.
It's a really fun time.
Did you want to read any more of your fact sheet stuff off? Because I liked the gun one.
I don't even have anything up anymore. I can't think of any more facts off the top of my head because
There was the gun one that was cool.
What gun one?
The fact that they had a timer in all the prop guns to make the flashes
Oh,
go
right.
off in time with the shutter of the camera.
Yeah. So yes. Instead of doing any sort of like VFX stuff, they had that cool little system set up, which is pretty sick, honestly.
Which is why there's so many muzzle flashes in this, because it's all timed.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I love that.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to you guys' next stuff. I can't wait.
Do we want to say like about the change that we're doing?
Yeah.
or
I think
not?
we should.
Well,
I was
going
gonna
to
mention it.
Concrete.
No,
Are we gonna
it's
do it?
concrete. We're
Yeah.
doing it, dude. It's decided right now.
Okay, right on.
So we decided that we're going to switch up the order just this once. Well, I mean, it might happen again in the future, but who knows? Because my next thing I'm bringing is, I'm not going to say what, but it's a Christmas movie. And if we didn't switch up the order between me and Will,
Wouldn't make it.
it wouldn't make it in
wouldn't
time
make
for
the
Christmas.
deadline. Yeah, it's not. It's
So,
not Die
Like
Hard.
holidays.
It's not.
He
Die
doesn't
Hard.
like Christmas movies.
What did you
It's
just
not
say?
Die
to
Hard.
me?
We've all seen Die Hard.
I said a really mean thing. I shouldn't have
You said I hate holidays.
I said you don't like Christmas movies.
Literally the furthest thing from the truth. Christmas is my favorite holiday. So any listeners, please get on Twitter and hashtag cancel Jacob.
Yeah,
Yeah, there
hashtag
we
cancel
go.
me. Also, I do want to say that we definitely couldn't show Die Hard because I fucking love Die Hard.
Yeah,
me
we've
too.
all seen Die Hard.
We love Die Hard.
And it's one of the greatest Christmas movies of all time.
Amen.
Die Hard 2 is also amazing.
Maybe
Die
one
Hard 2
day-
is also a fucking goat
Die
movie.
Hard 2 is great as well, but once we maybe run out of stuff to show, we'll just start doing stuff we like.
All three
And
of
then
us
we
can
can
show it.
can't do
All
that.
three of us
No.
can show it to
We
Riz. That's what we'll do. Because she refuses to watch it with
She
me.
doesn't see Die Hard.
What?
What? It's Christmas. It's a perfect time to watch it.
She won't do it.
one of the best
I've been
Christmas
trying to get her
movies
to
ever
watch it
made.
for 3 years, and she refuses.
Now will be the year, dude. You just gotta sit her down, be like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna play Persona," and then turn on Die Hard. Lock the door.
It's playing. Green Bench is doing holiday movies like in their beer garden, like on a projector, and Die Hard is one of them, and she wouldn't go with me.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
I
hurt.
would go.
I'm hurt.
I would brave the pandemic for that.
We're gonna go.
I wouldn't
We're gonna
break
go
the
see.
pandemic, not right now.
I forget what it is, but it's like the day before Christmas Eve. We're gonna go to whatever movie's playing that day. It's every Wednesday this month. Anyone who's local in St. Pete.
Too dicey, 5 me.
Yeah. Well, no, it's outside. You sit distanced. You bring your own chairs and blankets. You know, don't touch me. Don't talk to me.
Dude, I can't.
Just rock a mask.
I work with too many people. I can't risk it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna see Cobb until fucking next Christmas probably.
I don't think I'm gonna see you guys until forever, but which is really sad.
Which
I
is sad because
fucking-
we need to play D&D.
This shit sucks.
We need to play D&D.
Wear a goddamn
Anyways,
mask.
this is-
Wear a fucking mask. All right.
Please,
Listener.
guys,
Please, wear your
Jesus
masks.
Christ.
And when the vaccine comes out, please get it. Don't
Shoot
be
that shit
like
in
these
your
people
butt.
that are saying, "Yeah, put it in your butt." No, but seriously, wear a mask, socially distance, stay home, and get the vaccine when it comes out because hopefully soon.
Goddamn right.
Yeah.
Everyone, stay safe. We love you all. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.